If I say the most clever thing in the world and they don't like me, they'll still think I'm a jerk. If I say the dumbest thing in the world and they like me, they'll think it was funny. I said, so it actually doesn't matter. So what I do is I just, whatever comes out naturally, and because I have sort of a funny sense of humor, it's usually something, kind of funny to me anyway. And so I just say those things because those come out naturally. So because it doesn't matter what you say. People know they're going to like you if they like you. They're not going to like you if they don't like you. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're valuable or not valuable.
2, 1, 0.
Hi, this is Orion. How are you doing? You're in for a treat. I have with me the amazing Jeffrey Allen. We had this conversation being in two parts of the world, me in Miami and him in Japan. And I had so much fun talking to him. I feel full of joy and happiness just by being in his presence. Some people do that to you when they are coming from this pure loving space of giving, and it's really clear energy. It's unavoidable. You really feel it, you really sense it. And I am just sharing with you that I'm sensing this right now. And let me tell you a little more about Jeffrey Allen. Through his online programs with Mind Valley, he has introduced more than 1 million people worldwide to the exciting world of personal energy healing to improve their relationship, deepen their spiritual connection, and increase their personal presence, happiness, and impact in the world. Jeffrey Allen's mission is to make energy work and higher awareness available to everyone. In his latest program, Awakening Your Spirit Mind, Jeffrey teams up with his profoundly intuitive wife, Hisami, as she shares her deeper, behind the scene view of what's happening with global consciousness and how you can align with the big changes we're all experiencing. This is your key for moving beyond conflict and fear to begin living from fullness and love. And in this episode, we shared some stories about Japan. He's in Japan. I used to be in Japan. And so we have that in common. We talked about how to clear your blocks, how to tune into your guidance, how to listen to your intuition, and how to connect with your authentic self and just shine your light as the special diamond that you are. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Jeffrey, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks so much for having me. It's always great to reach out to new people and spread the message about energy work and spirituality. And yeah, great to be here.
Yes. So before we begin, maybe you can share a bit about yourself and your core story, and how did you find yourself becoming an energy healer and a leader in this arena?
Sure, you bet. Yeah, my background's kind of mixed. Originally, I was into engineering and mathematics. So I've got two computer science degrees and a mathematics degree, and really love thinking about things. That's just kind of my one of the strengths I was born with is a really fast mind. Not always right, but fast anyway.
Mm.
And but early on, I started having experiences, even when I was in college, that didn't. I couldn't really make sense of them. I was having these kind of intuitive experiences and spontaneous healing experiences, and so being more kind of scientific minded, to me, I had to know like what's happening here. And, like these are real experiences. It's tangible things that happen to me repeatedly, but they don't fit into my beliefs about how the world is supposed to work.
Mm.
So when I looked at those, I thought, probably my beliefs just aren't right. And when I started looking deeper at where did I get these beliefs, I couldn't really find a whole lot of evidence for most of the stuff I believe. It's just kind of what I learned growing up and on TV and with my friends and family and stuff. And so that was kind of the big shift for me in college, was just saying, I'm just not going to believe the things I believe anymore. I'm just going to be open to new experiences. And I'm going to let my kind of my experiences guide what's true from here forward. And so that really put me on a, kind of a different path, both, still pursuing my technical career that I did 15 years, but also diving into some stuff that maybe most people would consider a little bit strange or far out or maybe even crazy at the time. These days, the things I was doing back then are considered kind of normal,
Mm.
but back in the early '90s, I was kind of an outlier, getting into spirituality and energy healing. So yeah, so that's where the kind of interest started, and then I uh, I just dove deep into both things. I dove deep into computer science and corporate America and that path, but I also dove deep into kind of any spiritual teachings I could find, anything about energy healing. I went to
Mm.
a school for learning intuition and teaching intuition, and eventually, against my own kind of convictions not to ever teach. People started asking me to teach, and I grudgingly started small workshops. Those grew bigger and bigger, and then eventually kind of blew up into you know touring the world, being on stage, and now big online programs, and uh, kind of fun. It wasn't what I expected to happen or asked for. It was
Mhm.
just what I think if we kind of listen to where we're being pulled rather than where we think we should be going, life gets really interesting.
Yes. I'm in the middle of kind of made this decision, but it's a huge decision, a huge shift in my life, and it is so it's intuitive, but it's very counterintuitive. Logically, I should not do it.
Yeah, perfect. Then
And
you're probably on the right track.
yeah, I'm still like there is this like there's this fight between the logic and the intuition, and I used to be all intuition. Let's go with the flow. My mom, when I was young, she gave me that book, that the power of your subconscious mind, and that was all about like my guides and my angels. And I found a guidebook about Japan, and I highlighted all the places I wanted to go, and I gave notice. And 2 weeks later, I was in Japan, uh, with $700 in my pocket, which was great for 3 days in Japan of those days. And yes, like against any common sense. And then I stayed in Japan. I had a Japanese boyfriend that was extremely wonderful, and I lived there for 3.5 years, and it was uh, one of the experiences that shaped my life, and I did it against all odds. But now that I am more mature and I'm a mom and I have more responsibility, then you get into those what if boxes, and there is more than just you. Or now it's not only you, it's you and your partner and my partner, my son, my husband, my son. So how do you handle those moments of doubt?
Yeah, that's a great question. So uh, I like how you phrased it. You kind of this two forces. You've got your logical mind, and then you've got your intuition, and it feels like they're at odds. And so this is what most people experience, and I've experienced that too. But it actually has to do with a kind of a misalignment in general that we have energetically. And I
Mm,
got to talk a little bit about my wife Usami, to talk about that because this is her work. But the way that she describes it is, she says your mind that's people are used to. She calls it the material mind, but you can call it analytical or logical mind. She said it's a natural role is to actually be centered inside your spirit mind. So the
mm,
part of you that's always connected with your soul, just connected with all that is. You could think of it as kind of an all-knowing consciousness that we all are able to tap into. And when our analytical mind is inside that space of unconditional love, we never feel this conflict of when I'm being pulled in two different directions. But just the way kind of our culture and society has evolved over the years, this mind, this kind of material mind, if you will, has moved outside and sort of established its own space out here and sort of really grew up. That's what we kind of call the ego too.
Mm.
And so that's then there's sort of like these two parts of us, like one pulling this way, one pulling that way. And there's a lot of ways to deal with that, but the simplest way that I really love is the one that Hisami teaches, which is learning to just bring this mind back inside the space of spirit mind, because it's together they're just fantastic. And you've probably had this experience too, where, like you said, when you went to Tokyo or went to Japan, um, you had this beautiful intuition of what you really needed in that moment. And even though your analytical mind probably had, threw up a few red flags, they didn't feel compelling enough to change your direction.
Yes.
Instead, you used your logical mind to help you execute on the vision that your intuition was giving you. You thought of like, how can
But
okay, I have this big dream. I
yes.
understand that it may not make sense to people, but I still know that it's true. And so I'm going to use my beautiful analytical mind to help me fulfill this dream that I have, rather than telling me that it's wrong, because what other people might think or what I've been taught or all the buts and what ifs and blah 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 blah, and lots of reasons that we have not to follow our dreams. But those are all just like little kind of natural fears that we have when we're outside the space of spirit mind, when we're outside that space of unconditional love. So that's sort of the simple, maybe not simple, but maybe long answer of, when we can learn to bring them together, then this seeming like split just goes away.
Is there a specific practice that can bring them together beyond meditating? Like something that, because so I'm looking for signs and I'm meditating, I'm doing intuitive writing, and still like the doubts creep in, especially when I hear the outside world being very loud and strong about this specific decision.
Yeah, that's a good question. So uh, all those doubts, all that, even what you said, where you're sitting down and meditating and doing visions and stuff, you're operating in the same way that almost all of us operate, which is the mind is still out here. They're still separate. And so meditation doesn't mean that you're in spirit mind.
Okay.
Most spirituality and energy work and everything that we learn in meditation is just, it's like this analytical mind doing its best to imitate spirituality, right? So like we're all fantastic actors. So because our minds are very sharp and strong, and that's what we're validated for in society,
Hmm.
right? That's what, like all the monetary system, our status, everything is all about like how flashy and big is our ego, our material mind. And so we try to use that and say, oh, look, now uh, I have this really spiritual analytical mind. That really just, uh, you don't have to listen to that. It's not going to actually get us anywhere. I'm just speaking from my own experience. Like this, this can get you so far, but it's never going to get you to the space where like, oh, I've got them together. It's all lined up. I'm kind of in that zone where I'm able to use all my facilities to lean into my dreams.
Hmm.
And even though I've got this barrage of other opinions telling me what's right or wrong or good or bad or scary or smart and all those things, I don't really care about them. Like I know where I'm going,
Mm.
and I love all the people around me and have compassion for them, but their journey is their journey. I'm on my journey.
I feel like I need to do kind of like a spiritual aikido, like, but but yeah. So but how do you bring them to alignment?
Yeah, so the simple answer, it doesn't mean it's easy, but the simple answer is first it's about turning down the kind of the noise that we think is the signal.
Mm.
The the part of us that's I'm gonna analyze, I'm gonna make a list of things, or I'm just gonna meditate and go deep. Sometimes that will work, but not always. Um, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to take all this action to find clarity. So, but clarity doesn't take any action. Clarity comes from silence and inaction, right? Because all the information is already within you.
Yes.
The problem that we all have, and that sounds like you're describing, is accessing that information and trusting it. and you have the ability, like I said, you've this is actually very natural for you. Like I can see it in your energy too. Naturally, your natural state is to be very solidly in this beautiful space of spirit mind. But you've, just like all of us, you have the
I'm a
outside
mom
world
now,
too. And
it's like I have
yeah, and so you
responsibility.
exactly. I was going to say you have responsibility now. You said it first, and so some switch goes on and says, "Okay, now I need to think before I act."
Yeah.
So that's almost always a mistake, in my opinion. Just like I have to act, I like to say, I have to make a decision before I think about anything.
I
Because
love
if
that.
I just make a decision, it's always going to just naturally go in the direction that I want. Knowing what we want is not hard. But if I think about it, I'm going to just get all super confused, and all the things that I think I want, or other people said I should want, or the 12
Mm.
steps that I am supposed to take to get from here to there. And so, like I said, it's simple. The answer is just learning to turn down this chatter, and then just it will naturally kind of come back in if you give it time. But unfortunately, it's we have a lot of resistance. Like we're used to being out here, so that's why I have the training with my wife Isami, is to kind of walk through just kind of a nice, slow, gentle way all the different kinds of resistance, all the places where this mind kind of tricks us into not giving up, not putting it in second place, because really you want to put it in the back seat and let your spirit mind be the chauffeur and drive.
Yes.
And that's where uh, both aspects of you feel the most comfortable, feel the most empowered, and feel just joy and love.
Mm.
But when it's the other way, when the analytical mind is in the driver's seat, uh, you know, good luck. That's just called that's stress. That's why we all have a lot of stress.
Mm.
Even when we have beautiful lives, everybody has stress just because we're driving with the analytical.
Yeah. Do you and your wife teach together as well?
Yeah, we teach together. Yeah, but it's funny because all the stuff I'm talking about now about material mind and spirit mind, this is all my wife's teaching.
Mm.
So what my role in the teaching is, I'm sort of the worst case scenario student, right? So before I met Hisami, I already had a well established spiritual practice. I was recognized as like an authority in this space and an energy healer, and everybody looked up to me. And so I thought I had it all figured out, right? Um, and right? And then I
And
met my
then.
wife Hisami, and I started. Well, I also even before I met her, I was starting to notice some of the inconsistencies,
Mm.
and I think probably a lot of listeners will notice these too. Like the way that Hisami describes it, she talks about the different zones we go through energetically in our spiritual growth, and it's kind of like A, B, C, and D, just for lack of other labels. And it's by the time we get into sort of this C zone, a third zone, it looks a lot like where I was. So I had a lot of great spiritual information. I spent a lot of time meditating. I had a lot of good understanding of the world. And at the same time, I was really self righteous.
Mm.
So I believed that the things that I was doing were better than the things I had done before. Like the new me was better than the old me. So therefore, I projected that same judgment onto everybody else. The new me
Oh,
was better than everybody that was like the old me.
I love that. And because in my work, I do a lot of shadow integration and embracing all parts of yourself. And if you're in conflict with the old you and you don't accept him, then you're disowning a part of you. And that is a block in your spiritual evolution. Because when there is judgment, there is no love. There's no exception. There is no expansion. And if for me, God is love, then it's taking you away from God or love or consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's perfectly said. And so I'd started to notice this inconsistency, and you can see it in people around you. Easier than in yourself, but we can also see it in ourselves if we're a
Oh,
little
I'm
more
very good
open
at
to
looking at other people. I'm
it.
so good at that.
We all are,
Excellent.
yeah. But but it's like, so all of us know somebody who's like, oh, that person was like out of shape. They were like had maybe a challenging health problem. Then they got it together. They started exercising. They became vegan. They like, now they're in the top, and they're super judgmental about anybody that's not doing what they're doing.
Oh,
They're
I
like,
know.
anybody that's not vegan is bad. Anybody that's not exercising with them is bad. Anybody that's not doing yoga is bad. And so when you start noticing this,
Do you know how you know someone's a vegan?
how's that?
They'll tell you.
I'll tell you, right? Well, yeah, and I've been vegan a few times. I have nothing against being vegan. Like I've kind of gone in and out.
No, I have nothing against anybody doing whatever they want, as long as it's not being like I'm better than you, or um, yeah, as long as they respect my view of the world as well, and then don't try to literally force it down my throat. I'm good.
And that's this C zone. So when the material mind is growing up on its own on the spiritual path, but it doesn't make the trip into being centered in spirit mind, eventually that's where it gets us. So the highest we can kind of get to is this beautiful state where everything's, we're living our dreams, we're acting, our actions are following our dreams, but we're missing a little bit of key knowledge and wisdom, and it's leading us to be in this place of self judgment and therefore judgment of everybody else.
Mm.
And so, to kind of rewind all the way back, so with my wife Usami, that's kind of where I was when I met her. I'd already started noticing like something, like I love all the stuff I'm teaching and it's helping people, but something's not quite right. Like if you just look at the curated view of my life that you see on video and in my classes, everything looks perfect. But like every other teacher I've met, behind the scenes, there's stress and problems and judgment and like all kinds of stuff going. It's like, how come that doesn't seem to ever quite fade away?
Mm.
If this was the road taking me to where I want to go, why am I not quite getting there? And that's when I met Hisami, and I noticed, oh, she's has all the kind of inner peace, lack of self judgment, just love for everybody, being in the moment. She
Oh,
has
I
all
would
this
love to
stuff.
meet her. That sounds
She doesn't
amazing.
do any, she never meditates. She's never read a spiritual book. She doesn't follow any religions. She's like, she eats whatever she wants. She does whatever she wants. And I'm like, okay, so here's a
She,
person
you
with
know what?
no,
Yeah, she's free. Like eventually, this whole spiritual seeking is for freedom, and then you meet this free butterfly, and you're like, how come you're free? And I'm growing my wings for years now.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, so she's at the place I was hoping I would get to, but she's not doing any of the things that I thought were required for me to get there. So
I love
obviously they're
that.
not required. And I'm like, so what is she doing? No, and my wife and I don't actually speak a common language, so that's a
Mm.
whole other story. But so I had to get an interpreter to go to her classes and start learning from her. And as soon
Ah,
as I did, I was like, oh man, this is uh, I want to work with her. So that's what we're doing now. But like I said, I'm sort of the very articulate student, being authentic about all the like challenges I face, and then how I use the techniques she presents to kind of move through them. So
that
it's kind
sounds
of it's a fun role
amazing.
for me. I'm not like the authority.
Is it hard being a couple and teach together?
Uh yes and no. I mean, it sort of depends on I guess just how out of control my ego is in the moment. Right? So like if I'm sort of used to being on stage and being the center of attention, and so it took a little time to like turn that down and be like, it's okay that I'm not the center of attention. Like the reason I'm teaching this is because my wife knows things I don't know yet.
Oh,
so I can't talk over her and learn those things. So it is a little hard
yeah.
at times, but it's also very beautiful and easy when I'm able to be in that flow, have the logical mind inside the space of spirit mind. Then it's really beautiful together.
I really appreciate how genuine you are about your own spiritual struggles. It's not very common to see someone of your caliber actually share stuff like this. It's usually picture perfect. I'm there. I'm awakened, and I used to think that the people I see out there that are extremely successful, they're there, they arrived. It's but the more I interview people, the more I rub shoulders with great people, I find they're just human, and we're all on this journey, and it's never linear. And I don't know anybody's who's there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that teaching in Japan helped me get a different sense of responsibility as a teacher
Mm,
because you lived here a little while. So if you might understand this, that teaching here, I noticed that especially being a foreigner and teaching through a company and having all the credentials and everything, people tended to really believe me and sort of really put high value on what I said. And so where it's not so much like that everywhere else in the U.S., people are a little more hold tight their beliefs a little more tightly, so they're more likely to uh, not to just follow. And in Europe, what I found was the groups I talked to, people were very analytical, and so they had they were interested and open, but they wanted it to make sense also. So there's just every culture seemed to have a little different resistance. But in Japan, people were very open to things I
mm,
said. They would just kind of take it at face value. And I realized, oh, I have a responsibility here to make sure that what I'm teaching is helping people,
wow.
not just elevating me, not just making like, me, not just selling stuff. I
Wow.
need to make sure the stuff I'm telling them is actually serving them and helping them. And and eventually that led me to realize, oh, the best thing I could do is just be authentic and
Mm.
let everybody know, like, I'm not that different than anyone else. So anything you've struggled with and or struggling with now, I've been through the same struggles. So
I remember when I was in Japan, I was almost like a celebrity. People wanted to take photos with me in the street just because I was a little different. And then I moved to the US and I was like, nothing. I look like everybody else. So I kind of like being a celebrity, you know, it's nice.
yeah, it's true. And in Japan, especially Americans or anybody kind of Western,
Hmm.
uh, the Japanese mostly see that kind of face, voice, style, everything on in movies. So there's this automatic association with like foreigners and movie stars.
Yes, yes.
That's
Yeah.
great. I think everybody should spend a little time in a country where you're like overvalued, right?
Yeah, it's very over.
and then move back to a place where you're undervalued and like kind of learn both of those.
I love that. Yeah, oh my God, I had such beautiful memories there. And it's a very interesting culture. It's different than any other culture I think in the world. And it's extremely interesting that you're teaching there. So I want to go into do you read people's energies and how can one use their energy to do more good in the world?
Sure. Yeah, I can read people's energy. I mean, I do it all the time on a intuitive level.
Mm,
And then I'd spent for 10 years, that was my primary career. I kind of took my hobby of doing energy readings and teaching and swapped that with my career of software. I sort of swapped them at some point. Decided, okay, I'm going to go full time energy healer, intuitive reader,
mm,
and so I spent 10 years doing private sessions, both for energy reading and healing. And well, that's a really wonderful thing to do. Like you can really give people a little deeper insight, an external perspective that comes from love is really helpful.
yes.
Because we're so used to external perspectives that come from rules and
Yes, yes.
expectations and stuff. So just somebody that can see your energy and come from love and just talk about all your like all the things that are blocks, but not in a like there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
Just just like I I love people. Like I love this human experience of challenge and strife and emotions and drama and like I think it's really beautiful. And so that's a fun perspective to share with people
Mm,
doing energy readings. But I don't do them anymore unless somebody catches me in person, which is pretty hard since I live in Tokyo. but but uh, but what I found is that now in this time frame, we're all growing up a little bit into this space where uh, looking within and getting your own answers is more empowering
mm,
than having an expert tell you your answers.
yes.
And so that's why I've really shifted out of uh, giving people answers and into helping people find their own answers, because that's everything's within you. I don't have anybody's answers,
Mm.
but I do have all my answers. They're all within me, and it's the same for you. Same for everybody listening. All of you have all of your answers within. So it's just a matter of learning to turn down the noise and go within, and then trusting yourself.
Mm.
And I think, for me early on, the way that I learned to trust myself was just through experimentation. So I would listen to my every morning. I would meditate and just try to go within and listen. And then whatever I got, I would say, okay, I'm just going to try it out today and see what happens. And for me, it was, I'm kind of obsessive about things. So, I would, I'm driving to work and I would think, okay, I'm just going to imagine I can see which road's going to be less traffic or which one's going to be faster,
Mm.
and just try them. Or where's the parking spot? I'm just going to imagine I can sense those things and just try it.
It just reminds me, I've been rewatching the movie The Matrix, and who said it? Was it Bruce Lipton that said it? I don't know who said it. That The Matrix is not a movie; it's a documentary.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
Uh,
But if you're practicing those things, what I found most helpful though was uh, to get the other side. So in that same situation, I was driving to work. Then I started saying, okay, I'm gonna look for my guidance. Then I'm gonna do the opposite thing. Because if I just always follow it,
mm,
I'm just gonna have this sort of confirmation bias that it's working. But I want to know for sure. I'm a scientist, right? So at heart, anyway. and so I would say I'm going to follow. Just going to go against the guidance and just see what happens. Not in extreme situations where there might be danger, but in simple stuff. And right away, I was like, oh, traffic jam. The police are there. The road is closed. There's some construction. There's like just every time I did it, I realized, oh, it really is working.
hmm.
Like when I follow and I don't follow, there's a difference.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun. This is just like there's nothing life or death or big decisions I'm making here. And that's how I encourage people to start with your intuition on things that are fun. Most people start with like a crisis, right? I'm in crisis. I don't know what to do. Now it's time to use this fledgling skill that I'm learning to make the biggest decision of my life. Like that's a little too late. Like you want to start early,
Yeah.
get some practice first, before it's so much pressure on you.
Yes. So, but it seems like the intuition, the voice of the intuition, sometimes is so quiet. And if we're not in tune, we can totally miss it. For example, today, it's a very small example, even a silly example. My mother in law is in town, and I love to, when I host, I host. Like, I make a lot of food and I make the best food because this is just my culture. This is how we do it. We host. So we went to Whole Foods and did some shopping. I look at this beautiful fresh garlic and it pops. It's almost like pops out of everything. And I look at it, it's saying like, "Take me, please take me." And I'm like, "No, I have garlic in my home." And I completely ignored it. I come back home to make my famous pasta sauce. And I have 6 garlic heads and they're all dry. I can't use any of them. I want to be in a state where when the garlic says, "Take me," I take it. you know?
Yeah,
And
that's a perfect example.
yes.
That's a perfect example. Yeah, yeah, we all have these all the time. Like everybody has examples like I'm walking out the door, my hand reaches for the umbrella, but I realized I checked the weather app and it said it's not going to rain, so I walked out the door.
Hmm.
And then 2 hours later, I'm being rained on.
Yes,
Like
yes.
everybody has these stories. It's just natural. So the problem is that most of us think our intuition is a question,
Hmm.
not an answer, right? So it's like your intuition comes in. It's not saying, should you pick up the garlic?
Hmm.
Should you use your umbrella? It's saying, you need this garlic. Hey, you need your umbrella. It's like an answer, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
But we think our intuition is some sort of a thing we need to double check with our analyzer.
Yes.
But you don't need that at all. This part of you, when your analyzer is outside of this information space of spirit mind, it
Hmm.
doesn't actually know anything in present time. It just knows what happened in the past and what it imagines will happen in the future.
Yes.
But this information about present time, the same thing when we're doing energy readings, like I can tune into, I can look at your energy now. I can see, like, kind of expand that now into the past and the future. I can, go to the other people that you know. Like all this energy is really easy because you're in the space of spirit mind. Everything's available
Yeah.
across time and space and everything. But if I'm out here thinking about it, I don't have access to any real information. I just have it's like a history book rather than real life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the thing with the garlic happened so I can tell you the story about the garlic and we can talk about it. And I'm happy to report that the pasta sauce was really good. Regardless. We found a way. There was always a way. Um Amazing. So I'm a very energetic person. I can say. I feel other people's fields. And I have a family member that is going through a really hard time, and I can really feel the suffering. It's almost like a thread of sadness that I know it's not mine, that I'm sometimes taking on other people's feelings. And I heard, people say put a bubble on and or whatever, but what can somebody like me do to separate the fields? Because even with my coaching, like I know I tap into someone's field, I touch a little bit, but I don't immerse myself. And when it comes to my loved ones, it's hard not to take on stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. So two answers. So definitely you can use, if you know some energy tools, you can definitely set your intention. Like I like to visualize like there's a rose halfway between me and that person, even
Okay.
if they're not in physically present. And then the rose just represents it's a symbol, but it also has the geometry of how space time divides. So it's a very powerful symbol. So when you visualize that, you just imagine, oh, this rose is giving me permission to have all the space between me and the rose.
Mm,
This is my space, my energy. I have permission to fully own this and be myself. And it's giving the other person permission to have all the rest of space in the entire universe. All I need is this place, just my space. Like this
mm,
is a really generous offer, right? So
right.
I'm giving everybody else permission to have the entire universe.
Okay.
All I want is my space. And so
Yes.
this permission, uh, because it's coming from love and giving, is a lot more powerful than saying I'm going to put up something to protect me from that other person.
Yeah, I know. I
Right. So
like that. I know that.
protection is
Yeah, I get it.
so just switching that word protection to permission. All of a sudden, like the same tools really work. But
Mm,
in your case, even with the rose, the reality is nobody's going to get perfect at their energy tools.
mm,
So, and I'm not perfect with my energy tools. Over time, they become very automatic and they're kind of working
mhm,
even when you're not thinking about them. So we end up having a little more clarity in our space. But it doesn't matter. It's natural. It's even healthy
mm.
and expected for us to exchange energy with other people, especially people close to us and people
Right.
that we love.
Yes.
So if somebody around you is hurting, and if you couldn't feel them, that's called psychopath. so,
Of course.
like, like we're not aspiring to become psychopaths, right?
Yes.
So like you wanna be able to feel what's happening around you and have empathy, but you don't want to become everybody else, right? You want
Yes.
to be able to separate out and come back to your own space. And probably the simplest tool I've used for that, one of my teachers told me this. I can't remember. It's probably Michael Tamura, but it might have been somebody else. But I said, just think about three ways that you're separate from the person. So when I teach people how to do energy healing, I teach this. Like when you're done with the session, it's time to come back to you. So look at your client. You can do it with, you can also think about your family member and just notice three things that are different. Like if I'm looking at you, I'd say, "Oh, you've got this beautiful long hair. I've got short hair right now. Oh, you're a woman. I'm a man. Okay, that's different. You're. It could be physical things,
Mm.
or it can be energy things, or just anything, right? And it could be, oh, you're living,
In
over
Miami.
where you're living. I don't even know. Yeah, there
Miami.
you go. And Miami. You're in Miami, and I'm in Tokyo. Okay, so three things, and right away you're starting to separate your energy
Mm,
because you're just starting to get more clarity. Like, this is me.
mhm.
and that'll really help. But like I said, it's okay that we feel each other. It's it's actually unusual that we have this concept that we are separate. That's the weird part.
Hmm.
Not the fact that we have a hard time becoming more separate.
Yes.
It's weird that we even think that we can be separate or that we are separate. Right?
Yes.
We just have that because of our when you look at our bodies, oh, it looks like our bodies are separate. Yeah, that part's actually true. But we're a lot more than our bodies. So
Yeah. I had some experiences in my life of oneness and non-duality. But then you come back to here and then you're like it's always like that. It's never linear, and it never stays those expansion moments, because I guess this is our journey here in the physical form.
I think we're getting there, though. Like that, I was surprised when I met my wife. I'm like, oh, she not only does she not come back to this space, that most people call reality. She's never actually even been there. Like she
That's
doesn't
awesome.
she doesn't understand why people are the way they are. She said
Mm.
it when she was 10 was the first time she realized, wait a minute, nobody else sees half of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, well, she's a
And that's why they
special
all get angry
being.
when I talk about it. She just didn't know. She just thought everybody knew everything. So she
Mm.
would, even when she tells this funny story, she was in school and she's watching some of the moms talk to each other, the other students' moms, and one of them saying something about, oh, blah blah blah, some nice story about one of the other moms, and little Isami says, why are you saying that? Because you really hate her. Like you don't like this about her and these other things. She's like rattles off all these like secrets that this woman's hiding. And she didn't, and this was, and she's just interested. She's like, this is fascinating. I'm trying to learn from the adults, but I can see that this is true, but they're saying other things.
Wow.
Oh, that's fascinating. I want to know why. But then she starts saying stuff, and you can imagine what happened. Like people didn't like it. People
Of
just got
course they
angry.
didn't. Oh, wow.
And finally, at some point, she's like, I guess I should stop talking about
Mm.
all this stuff that people don't see. And then she tried really hard to become like normal, and she couldn't.
Mm.
Like she just, even when she wanted to be a normal person, which is funny because we're all trying to aspire to get to where she is naturally. But she said it just wasn't possible, even after she tried.
Yeah.
So now we're doing the opposite. We're like, hey, let's take your teaching. She'd been teaching a long time in Japan. Let's put it into a program that can reach all languages and start getting out to more people. Let's just pull the whole world over toward where Hisami is naturally,
That's
because
beautiful.
that's where the energy on the planet's pushing us all there anyway. That's probably why she's here now, or that is why she's here now. It's like we're all going there. It's just we're
Yeah.
going there kicking and screaming. So let's go a little more gracefully.
Yeah, I feel like this world is so crazy, and it's getting crazier and crazier by the day. Why do you think we're going through so much right now globally?
Yeah, it is this new energy that's it's pulling us back to our more natural state, where the analytical mind that we've elevated to like godlike status in our societies is being kind of poked at and pushed at and prodded to till so it'll move back into its natural role.
Mm.
Uh, and we're all going that direction, but the resistance, especially when you start getting close, right went up to the edge where you're just about to go in. This is where your ego and your analytical mind is starting to panic.
Hmm.
Like I'm not gonna like it's like I'm gonna die if I give up control. It's
Mm.
like no, you're not gonna die. You're just gonna move into a space of love. You're
Right.
gonna thrive if you give up control. But but
And
our material mind doesn't know that. It's in this external world of competition and separation and
so much separation and so much competition and so much
yeah, and
also.
so it looks like things are getting worse,
Yeah, and what feels
but
like
they're actually getting better.
right is wrong and wrong is right, and it's just I'm like I'm sitting and looking at all this, and I don't understand what's going on. It makes me feel very confused, and sometimes not very positive about what's going on or is going to be in this world. I know everything's for the greater good, blah blah blah, and God has planned for us, but it's a little scary to see.
Yeah, well, and you're feeling what all of us are feeling. It's looking at the outside world looks a little bit crazy, but we don't have to look at the outside world all the time, right? So when we look within and kind of feel like, does it feel like things are going in a beautiful direction, even though it looks like when I look outside, even though it looks like they're not, do I actually feel panic and fear inside me?
Mm,
No, I don't. I feel fine. I feel like a lot of connection and love. And if I look at the news or the internet, it looks like chaos reigns, but am I personally experiencing that? No, I'm not actually experiencing that. In fact, I think maybe most people aren't, right? And so the trick is to start like letting your compass come from within.
mm.
Like don't have to follow or fix everything that's going on outside.
Yeah, I think I need to put like a circle of bouquets of roses around me. It's like me and the outside world is roses, all roses. Rose is one of like pink rose is probably my favorite flower.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love it. I love the color pink, and I love the color. I don't wear a lot of pink, but I just like pink roses. It's like it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. And anything that helps you remember, like this, people sometimes ask about the crystal that I wear,
I
what
love
kind
that
is it, or
crystal.
where
You
you get
probably got it in
everything.
Sedona.
This one, actually, no, I didn't. But yeah, I
No?
lived in Sedona for a long time. But this one, we actually just go to a crystal wholesaler, Sami and I, and just look at all the crystals that are there and just pick the ones that have the best energy.
Wow.
And it's funny because Sami used to sell these for her clients. She made them for all of her clients. That's why she made me one. And it's funny because the price point didn't matter. Sometimes you see a $300 crystal
Mm.
that was really good. Sometimes you see a $10 crystal that had just as good energy.
Wow, I love that.
So it doesn't really, it's not price doesn't indicate value at all
Hmm.
for
Yes.
crystals.
Wow.
It might indicate some sort of a aesthetic value,
Right.
but definitely not energetic value. But the reason why I loved it so much is it kind of just reminds me to be present, to be myself. It kind of brings me back to my own essence.
Yes.
But anything can do that. Some people, it could be your cup of coffee in the morning and the coffee cup that it's in that helps you really connect and feel like like the whole rest of the world fades away. You're just in your little zone and be like, oh man, I love this moment here. I love having this coffee. I don't drink coffee personally, but I imagine that's what it's like for coffee lovers. If you have that, that's perfect. That's your tool. That's your tool for tuning in.
Yeah, yeah, I resonate. I do drink coffee a little bit, and I have this giant cup of, well, it's half coffee and half cacao, because that's with some collagen powder and cinnamon and almond milk. That's how I drink it. And it says, "Good morning, gorgeous." And I love it.
Oh, great.
I
That's
like
where
that
that's why I was
moment.
that's where I was picking it up. I was tuning into you, and yeah. So that's if that's a moment that you feel connected and everything else fades away,
It is.
that's fantastic. You don't need to take an energy class from me or anybody else to learn what works for you, right? Because everybody's different. You'll get some good ideas
Feel
from
like
from
I have so
teachers,
much to learn
and
from you and from your wife. It sounds amazing. Amazing.
yeah. Well, it's but mostly we're teaching people how to become yourself, right?
Ooh,
It's there's really no need to aspire to become like your teachers or to become like me. Like it's kind of that's like a really doesn't make sense because the thing that you probably like about somebody or like a teacher or somebody that you aspire to be, you probably like that they're authentically being
yes, all
themselves.
the time.
And
Yes.
so if you try to be like them, automatically you're not being like them,
Hmm.
right? Because you're trying to be somebody
You can't be
else.
anybody
They're
else.
demonstrating what it's like to be themselves.
No.
So you just have to be yourself.
Yeah, and the people that will love you for what you are. And somebody also, I was listening to a podcast with some lady, she was phenomenal, and I don't remember her name, and she was talking about trying to be like other people. She's a black lady, and she had this accent, and she was an actress, and she tried to always eliminate her accent. And then she never got what she wanted. And she said, God gave me gifts that were for the persona that I was wearing. But now that I am myself, God gives me the gifts that are for me. And she excelled, and now she's a big teacher. She makes a lot of money, and she found her dream. She did that by allowing herself and giving herself permission to be her authentic self with her accent and everything that comes with it. And that's
It's
beautiful.
great. It's so true what you said. It's not just true in business, it's true in relationships too. So like people, like we don't know why we like people or attract people or love people, but we know who it is and who it's not, right? So like if I meet somebody right away, I know like, oh, that person's interesting to me, or that's just that person doesn't feel as close to me,
Mm,
or wow, I'm really in love with that person, or like all these things are automatic. And but people that meet you, like, so if you're listening to this and looking for a relationship, people that meet you are the same way. They already know before you say a word whether they like you or not because it's a feeling. They're not going to make their decision about liking you based on what you say.
hmm.
And so it's probably shouldn't tell this story, but back when I was single a long time ago, and one of my friends said, "Why do you say such dumb things when you meet women?" And I said, "Oh, because it doesn't matter what I say. Like they already know if they like me or not.
Oh,
The only important thing is that I say something. If I say nothing, then the opportunity goes by.
yeah,
So saying something is important. If I say the most clever thing in the world and they don't like me, they'll still think I'm a jerk.
right.
If I say the dumbest thing in the world and they like me, they'll think it was funny." I said, so it actually doesn't matter. So what I do is I just uh, whatever comes out naturally, and because I have sort of a funny sense of humor, it's usually something kind of funny to me anyway, right? And so I just say those things because those come out naturally. Because it doesn't matter what you say. People know they're going to like you if they like you. They're not going to like you if they don't like you. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're valuable or not valuable.
Yeah,
You're just trying to filter through the people, and like the people that you're here to really connect with will feel that. You can't really mess that up.
yes.
I mean, I'm speaking in general. You can if you're like not being yourself,
Yeah,
uh, or you're really stressed because you think you have to be somebody else. Then yeah, you might miss out on some opportunities. But in general, it's not a problem. Yeah.
I think because you found that with yourself and you're so congruent with who you are, you allow other people to feel safe to be who they are around you. I feel very comfortable around you. Like this whole interview, I felt very like, oh, this is nice. I like talking to him because I guess what you emanate, like that acceptance, like of yourself and who you are and the fullest of who you are, the darkness and the light and all of it within being a healer, and you're aware of all of it. um I think this is what makes you a phenomenal teacher and leader. It's in your beingness, and it is in the energy that is, even though we're there, you're in both sides of the world and or talking on Zoom in the field, it just the energy is there, and it I feel it in every part of my body. I really feel it everywhere, so I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, it's really easy. It's easy to connect with people when if we're in that space of love
Yeah,
ourselves, then it's just easy to love everybody we meet and every situation. And it doesn't mean we won't have preferences. Like you don't have to uh, like if you find yourself in a situation, just again to people that are watching, if you find yourself in a situation or with somebody that you're feeling frustrated, or you don't have to try to make it feel like I'm going to try to feel more loving in this situation with this person. It's totally okay to just say, I'm not very interested in this situation or person. And so I'm going to filter my life to things that are easier for me to
yeah,
be feeling good and feeling happy and connecting with people. It's totally okay to do that too. Like you don't force yourself to try to feel something you're
yeah.
not. Right? Authenticity works both ways.
Yes, yes.
It gives you the freedom to love everything, but it also gives you the freedom to make
No,
choices.
but what I was saying is like, it's not something that you do. It's just like because you're you're in a space of love and acceptance toward yourself, it just naturally allows other people to feel safe around you. What I was trying to communicate.
Oh, I got that. I got that. I'm listening to you, but I'm tuning into all the people that are
Oh,
listening. That's just one thing I'll have to do. And so when I see a question come up, I'll just kind of address the energy like right there in the moment.
yeah, wonderful. Thank you. What are your three top tips to living a stellar life?
Top tips for living a stellar life. We probably covered most of them.
Mm.
Let me see if I can say them in a different way. I would say, don't be too hard on yourself. Like it's natural that you're growing. It's natural that you're moving forward with things. It's so if you put that in the longer perspective, like I like to sit down and New Year's Eve, kind of tune in and just remember where I was a year before. And always a year before, I can kind of look back at my older self and kind of chuckle a little bit at like, I can't believe I thought that or was doing that. Or,
Mm.
from love, I can see myself like, oh, wow, I can't believe I was there a year ago. But then I also remember that next year I'll be doing the same thing and chuckling at myself right now. So that kind of keeps the ego under control,
Mm.
right? So it's like because I'm growing and we're all growing.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I say don't be too hard on yourself. Like you should be feeling like there's something you're reaching toward you haven't accomplished yet. That just means you're interested in self growth. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. So just be really easy and just know that that's going to continue that journey. Enjoy that part.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be number one. Let's see. Number two would be just kind of tune into everybody's energy. What do they need to hear? Don't worry about the money so much. Like it looks like people that are listening to this right now have a little bit more emphasis on money than necessary. So money is a great thing, but it's just a way to. It's actually something that comes back. It's when you're adding value to the world. So like if you just think, how can I be of service to my world and community? How do I want to be of service to my world and community? And then do those things, money will come back. It's the reciprocal. You don't think about how can I make money? Okay. Like you don't even ever have to think about that. Just think about how can I add value? How can I be of service? And and then once you have that answer, then let this mind say, okay, and then can I monetize those things? Okay, that's worth thinking about. But don't drive with this. Drive with how can I be of service? How can I be myself and help people? So I'd say that's for money. Third one, stellar life. I'd say notice. It looks like just like there's maybe a little bit too much focus on money. There's a little bit too much focus on the future as well.
Mm.
Like instead of thinking about where you want to get to and how happy you'll be when you have that new house, car, career, relationship, whatever it is, instead of thinking about that, notice like what's beautiful right now. Oh, I really like. I've been really enjoying those. I can't see them because they're small, but this kind of blue photos on the wall behind you.
Oh, they're from Greece.
Yeah, so I've been really enjoying those. Like we're talking, and sometimes my eyes will be drawn. I'm like, oh, it just looks like peaceful and beautiful, and on my screen it's just this tiny little
They're
thing, but
very
it's like
small.
there's
Yeah.
something. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. There's always something around that you can find that's unexpected and beautiful. And of course, I'm looking at you two and enjoying your energy and beauty and everything too. But it's like there's a little unexpected, little surprising beauty back here in the background.
Yeah.
And so start to notice those things in your life. And when you do, just be grateful because you've already got to the place that you were hoping all your hard work would get you to.
Oh,
You just got there right now in the moment. And that's why I'm saying don't have to focus so much on the future and so much on the money. And
I love that.
those things will happen, but they'll happen faster if you're not thinking about them, to be honest.
And where can people find you and learn from you?
All right. Yeah. Best place is just go to my website. So I am jeffreyallen.com. And you can also go to jeffreyallen.love. That'll take you there too. And for all my work with my wife Hisami, that's on spiritmind.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's our teaching together. If you're a Mind Valley member, you can find me in Mind Valley. So my duality course is like the most popular energy training course that I have. It's really fantastic. It's helped like, I don't know how many millions of people now.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of everything that I know about energy work delivered in a way that's seems like it's not too crazy.
That's beautiful.
It's like very practical. Yeah.
Jeffrey, thank you so much. This was amazing, wonderful, and so much fun. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your time and all the wisdom that you're sharing with the world.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was great. And I loved your questions and your energy, and look forward to talking again.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Remember, be gentle and kind with yourself. Money will come to you when you are of service to the world. Enjoy the beautiful present moment and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.